Learning the keyboard shortcuts for navigation in Photoshop is essential because these are the things you are going to do all the time. So there are actually several ways of zooming in and out. For example, you can select the magnifier tool or zoom tool here at the bottom of the toolbar, and then you can click to zoom in, and you can zoom out by holding down the Alt key together with this, or Option key, and then zoom out that way. Now, you can also click and drag right to zoom in and drag left to zoom out. So with this one, I can actually zoom close to a point in the image that I'm interested in by clicking on that and dragging to the right. This is called scrubby zoom, and it's turned on here in the options bar, but you can always turn it off if you don't like to use that, because if it's turned off and let's say you are zoomed out, so I'm just going to zoom out a bit, you can then, without the scrubby zoom, you can make a selection of an area that you are interested and zoom close to that part. If you quickly want to zoom out and see again the whole image, you can click on Fit Screen or Fill Screen, with which you will see probably a little bit more, but depending on the image and the aspect ratio, you will also have parts missing from it. Now this is when panning comes in handy. So let's say I want to move right and left within this image. I can use the scrolls at the bottom or even on the right to pan around in the image, but far better than that is using the space bar. If you press and hold space, you can see that I can move in any direction I want. So I'm not limited to go horizontally or vertically. I can do any movement at the same time. Another way to zoom in and out is using a shortcut purely. It's Control or Command plus and minus. So Command plus or Control plus zooms in, and Control or Command minus will zoom out. If you press Command 1, that will zoom to the actual pixel size, which is the 100% zoom ratio. You can see it here at the bottom in the status bar as well. So this means that every pixel from this image is using a pixel on your screen. So just to make sure you know that your screen is also using a specific resolution. In my case, my Cintiq is using a 1600 by 900 pixel resolution. So this image currently is using that resolution when it's in 100% view. And that is probably one of the best ways of viewing the quality of an image, because any further you zoom in, you will start to see pixelation. If you zoom really far in, you will actually see the pixel grid. And of course, the further you zoom out, the less you will see these pixels and the image will start to look more smooth. If you are working with a very big image, you can zoom closer to a detail and at the same time still be able to move quickly to another part of the image by using either a shortcut, which is called Bird's Eye View. You can press and hold H on the keyboard and then click to zoom out, move wherever you want to move within the image, and when you let go, it will zoom back to the previously used zoom ratio. There's also a panel under Window Navigator, which gives you the same option but without using a shortcut. Here I can very quickly move around the image without zooming out. I have the whole image visible within this panel. Sometimes you might want to rotate your view. I'm just going to zoom out slightly. So rotating the view can be useful whenever you make selections or whenever you need to add text on an angle, for example. So for this, you can switch to the Rotate View tool, which is also a shortcut there, R. So once that's selected, we can click and drag and rotate the whole view. And notice that we have a compass. If I hold down Shift, it will actually snap to these certain degrees or angles. And whenever I decide to turn the image back to the way it was, I just have to press the Escape key. Or also you can choose the Reset View here on the options bar. There's also a shortcut to quickly hide the panels on the right and your toolbar on the left. That's Tab key. If you press Tab, that will hide them. And with the same shortcut, you can show them once again. If you want to see your toolbar, just hide your panels. You can press Shift Tab. And then if you press F on the keyboard, that will toggle between different views. So you see now we remove the status bar, and also we have a little bit more space to work on the image. If I press F once more, almost everything disappears and only the image is visible, but we can still work with it. Or I can switch back to the tools by pressing F again, which takes me back to the original normal view. These screen modes can be found at the bottom of the toolbar. So these were the 3 options that I went through. Now that you see that shortcuts are essential in Photoshop because they just save so much time, I would like to also teach you how to customize them, because that's also available. If you go to the Edit Keyboard Shortcuts, you will be able to customize any feature in Photoshop to have their own customized shortcut. So if I go there, I can find first of all the application menus, so all the menus from the top, or panel menus. Within each panel there's also menus and features, and then of course even the tools can be customized, so you can change the shortcuts here as well. Now one of the things that I change almost straight away if I work on a new computer is the edit, step backward and forward. I actually use function keys for it instead of the original Command Alt Z, Command Shift Z shortcut combination, because it's just much faster to use function keys. If you are a PC user, then you can just set this up straight away without any issues. If you are a Mac user, you also have to make sure that under the system preferences, you go to keyboard options. So let me just switch to keyboard, and you make sure you turn on this option. So to use all function keys as standard function keys. That way you can use them in Photoshop on their own to go back and forth. And if you need to use the original change brightness option, which is associated with function 1 and function 2, you can just hold down the function key as it says, the FN key, to use the special features printed on those keys. So let's go back to Photoshop, and you can see that I already customized these, but it's very simple to change a shortcut. You just select it and then press the shortcut you want to assign to it. If you are a Creative Cloud user, you can actually have multiple shortcuts for the same features. So even if I go back to the original set of shortcuts, where I can see the original shortcuts, so step forward or step backward, I can add shortcut to them. So instead of removing the original one, I can add my custom version as well. And for step backward, I can add F1. But now you see, instead of removing the original shortcut, I have a new one assigned. So I can actually have multiple shortcuts for the same features. Why is that useful? Well, in case someone else is using your computer, they wouldn't have to switch back and forth between workspaces to get back to the original shortcuts if they prefer that. But you can share the same computer and use different shortcuts for the same features. So that's all I wanted to show you in this video, but I mentioned some very important thing here, the pixel grid. If you remember, when I used the zoom tool and zoomed closer to the image, after a while we started to see pixels. And this is something I have to make sure you understand, because this relates to resolution and image size. So that's exactly what I'm going to discuss in the next video.